Hello, Valley Schuss fans. Welcome to video number 6, where Murray and I continue our conversation about the history of Valley Schuss. In this episode, we do recap a few photographs that we've looked at before. There's also some photographs that we talk about in this episode that are from other ski resorts that my family visited. Murray and I try to figure out where those particular photographs were from. Also, I think you'll find fascinating, you're going to hear the history of this Stetson hat that I'm wearing as far as my family history with this hat. And once again, I'd like to personally thank Murray for taking the time and sitting down and talking to me about the history of Valley Schuss. So without further ado, enjoy video number 6. All right, well, good evening, everybody. I'm Harold Carefoot, and welcome to another episode of Valley Schuss. Orangeville, Ontario, Canada, from 1960 to 1980. I'm very pleased that I can see Murray tonight. So we are making progress with our Zoom conversations. So Murray, good evening. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
All right. So the last time we left off, we looked at I don't know, it had to be at least 20 photos that you sent me, and we kind of looked at each of those photos and discussed those, and you shared your memories and recollections of those photos. So what I'd like to do tonight is I have some photos that I got from my family. Go over those photos tonight, and I'll just see what if there's any memories that you have. But before we officially get started, I just want everybody to see this Stetson that I'm wearing, because in a picture that I'll be showing you later, this is the same hat that my father was wearing back in probably 1960 or 61. And Murray, you were telling me that our fathers bought these hats because they were big football fans. Is that what you recall for how they purchased these hats?
They were both Westerners from Saskatchewan. That gives you license to wear a Stetson.
Okay, all right.
The Grey Cup game gave you more license, and my dad had a bald head, so he always liked to cover up his bald head. So yeah, it served a number of purposes.
Do you? I'm trying to think. Do you remember seeing your dad wear this Stetson very often? Was it something that it was just that he wore like on occasions for parties and things like that?
Well, I'm not sure whether he wore it for everyday use, because they blow off easily. Eh? If it's windy, they're going to blow off. You have to hold them down. I think it was mainly for ceremonial purposes. And my father, like myself, he likes to get people's attention, and a hat is a good enough thing to do. Okay.
Yeah. No, like I told you,
I have long, crazy hair. That's how I do it.
Like I told you on a previous episode, that's one thing I do remember about your father, is he always had a wide assortment of different hats that he wore that I think would get people's attention. So as a bald guy, I certainly can appreciate depending on the time of the year, the importance of wearing a hat. So
well, being extraordinarily tall helps too.
Yes.
And we both were.
Yep. All right, so with further ado, I'm going to split the screen here, and we'll start looking at some pictures. All right, so some of these pictures we have seen before, so I'll go over some of these fairly quickly. On previous episodes, Murray and I have talked about these photos, especially these first few here. So this, there again, this is the Bombardier that was purchased in 1960. And the significance of this photo is, like, here's my father and there's my mother. And Murray and I talked about this. Obviously, this was in the fall, beautiful fall colors there in the background. Let's go on to the next picture.
That machine, some people call it the Mad Machine.
The Mad Machine.
The guys that worked there called it that.
Okay. I thought I had more than this particular one, so I guess not. So, all right, let me move on to the next picture here. So I'm going to take 1 second here. Why is not, I should have moved on to this picture right here. So let me go back. All right, well, it's basically the same picture that we were just looking at. So they called it the Mad Machine, huh? That was the
well,
nickname.
it had different names, the Bomb and Mad Machine.
Yeah.
Most of us didn't want to pronounce the Bombardier because we really weren't quite sure how to pronounce it. We weren't French after all.
Was that a diesel motor or gasoline motor?
No, it was a 6-cylinder Chrysler Industrial flathead, as I recall.
But it ran
Very
on
common engine at the time.
ran on gasoline?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I think we also looked at this. This, I think you and I, whoever took this picture, I know you had this picture as well as I did, and we talked about this picture as well. But the one thing is the beautiful fall colors here that we talked about. So I'm going to move on to another picture. That's just another picture of the Bombardier, and Murray and I talked about this on previous episodes as well. So I'll keep moving on. This picture, I think we may have briefly touched on it, but this, we did talk about this because you explained to us in detail about where all the parts and components came from and the actual construction of the chalet. So I'll keep moving on to the next photo. All right, so I believe this is a new photo for everybody. So this looks like, do you think this is Murray's Run?
Yeah, I do now. I wondered before, but I would say it is.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here, but obviously, did you start doing this when the conditions merit and you had good snow from the first season on? Did you always try to do some type of racing each season?
That was partly to do with the fact that the instructors who were our instructors and the manager as well were from Austria, and they were used to racing. So they, just almost automatically wanted to have races there. Now, we didn't have a lot of really good racing terrain, and we only had really only one decent run. That was Murray's Run. So if you wanted to have a race, everybody else who was skiing really didn't particularly want to hold their skiing up because there was a race. So
Gotcha.
This was probably something that was arranged ahead of time, probably through the Southern Ontario Ski Zone, the organization that kind of promoted and supported racing, mostly among younger people, but some older, all over Ontario. So this would have been a sanctioned race, if you will. Who knows when, probably in the middle of the winter or later. It didn't look like it was early because there was snow everywhere.
Yeah.
It was problematic because we had limited space where you could race.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was just looking. I don't think I've ever noticed before. Is this a speaker? I see it looks like a stand and something. And you see where my
it might have been a timing device.
Oh, okay.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I've looked at this photo before.
Yeah, no, they may have had at that point halftime indicators of where people were.
Okay.
That's really a new one. I was not heavily into racing, although I did a bunch of it. But yeah, I would not even have noticed that. I mean, I see the little black spot there, but
yeah,
I can't answer the question authoritatively.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, let me move on to the next next photo. I think we've looked at this one before. I'm not sure who those folks are right there, but obviously it looked like there was some decent snow on the ground.
Yeah, I would comment on that, Harold. The scar on the landscape beside those little girls or kids was almost a necessary result of bulldozing. And I wish in a way we had learned earlier to knock that down and make it look a little nicer. It was kind of not a very pleasant looking thing.
Yeah.
But it happened often because we were in a valley. Murray's Run was in the valley. Both sides of the valley in some areas had scars like that. And, people would bump into them now and then and maybe hurt themselves.
Right. Okay. All right. Let me go on to the next picture. That's another picture I think we've also talked about. That was Mr. Summerhays. That was my dad's business partner for Car Hays there in Toronto or in Brantford. Talked about that. I think we may have briefly looked at this picture, but this is probably one of the New Year's celebrations in the early 60s, 61 timeframe. And I remember you were pointing out to me that you think this is Hans here in this jacket.
Yeah, he's the manager.
Yep. And I pointed out before that was my Aunt Margaret there. So Looks like they're having a good time there in the party. This is my father, and I'm not sure who this is. I don't know if it's one of my sisters or my older brother, but looks like they're out doing some skiing. It looks like there's a lot of nice natural snow there. So it looked like it was a pretty decent day for skiing. And then you were telling me before that this was like the hut or whatever for the ski patrol.
Originally, I think it might have been ski rentals, and then it turned into ski patrol when other things changed, but it stayed there for quite a few years.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here. There's a great picture of your dad. I think we've probably looked at this one a few times, but he's wearing that nice sporty red jacket there, and I think we'll see my father wearing something similar to that. I think this photo we looked at before, and I think we came to a conclusion that this is not at Valley Schuss.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't recognize this white building back here in the background.
Neither do I.
I see it was a rope tow, whatever they were working on there, but looks like they had pretty decent snowfall. All right, this is definitely a picture of Valley Schuss. Let's see. So here's my mother, and here's some friends of them. That's Mr. Egler and Mrs. Egler, and I'm assuming that this is their two boys that they have with them here. And then I'm assuming this would be my sister Ellen, and then probably my sister Margaret and my brother John right here. I'm not sure who these two folks are, but looks like another nice winter day with plenty of snow around. Parking lot looks pretty full in the background.
That pole in the background is where a 3-phase power arrived on the property.
Oh, back here? Right
yeah,
here.
It went underground from there to the lift itself.
Okay. So where did you, so no, I'm getting ahead of myself there. We'll talk about the snowmaking here in another episode. So keep going on with the pictures. I know we've seen this picture before, and obviously this is definitely not in Valley Schuss, and we're trying to figure out where potentially this photo was taken. Have you had any other ideas possibly?
Yeah, well, our fathers went skiing in Vermont before the ski resort even opened, like after they decided they were going to do it, and maybe, wow, early in that winter, gosh, I don't know the exact dates, but I know they went skiing really early on down in Vermont at a place called Pico Peak and another one near it called Okemo. They may both be there, but that could be either. I have been to one of them, but that was a long time ago, and I don't remember what it looked like. I think I was at Pico, but I don't think it looked like that, so I'm really not sure.
Okay. Yeah, well, somebody watching on YouTube there might be able to help us out.
Yeah.
Figure out what.
Well, there you go.
Where exactly this picture was taken. All right, I know we've looked at this photo before, but this is another a beautiful photo with all the fresh snow, and then we were talking about this was the Palma lift, so that was before 1970.
Yeah.
And I think I was asking you about what you used to groom the trails back in the early days. So you had the bombardier, and behind that you were pulling some type of roller.
Yeah, that looks rolled. And the reason I think why it was only part way up the hill probably would be because the top of the hill would frequently just blow all the snow off because there were no trees up there. So you had to get off the pommel lift somewhere. Now I can see people may have been getting off right where your cursor is there, above where it's groomed, but as to whether they would go farther up, those two people were probably getting off farther up just below the steep pitch at the top of the hill and going across to Murray's Run, because you couldn't ski on the top bit of the hill often just because the snow would blow off. That's why we planted so many trees there.
Yeah. And you were telling me these two folks here.
I don't know who they are, but they don't seem to have skis on, and I'm not sure why. But I don't know who they are.
This isn't one of your high school buddies here?
I really don't think I could say that for sure. No, I couldn't say that.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't really recognize definitively either of them.
Yeah, I don't know if this guy, if he's got a camera there, but you're right. They both just got boots on. They don't have any skis.
Yeah,
So,
I don't quite understand that photograph, to be honest.
yeah, if they're out there checking something out, they may have been helping. I see the
Well, okay, so
flags
there's
for
a
the ski
flag. They
racing.
could have been involved somehow in a race. That's a possibility because there is a flag there.
Yeah. And this would coincide with what you were saying earlier that you primarily use Murray's Run as the racing hill. So that would make sense, right? Because Murray's Run would be
Yeah,
off to the left.
to be honest, it barely qualified as a racing hill, but we did it.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the
And
next.
it wasn't bad for downhill if you're going really fast. If you had a slalom race, you'd be going too slow because you're always turning.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So this is part of the racing that we were looking at some previous slides, and what did you tell me that the CASA stands for?
Canadian Amateur Ski Association, and the SOSZ was Southern Ontario Ski Zone. You know, a wing of that for Southern Ontario, obviously. And it was an organization that people from various ski hills belonged to, and they supported mostly young people. I think it was really exclusively young people. And you'd win a race or two, and your status would go up. I got some really great skis through Valley Schuss, and I managed to do well at racing, not because I was a great racer, but because I had the best skis on the walk.
Right. And there again, tell me the significance of the bell here in this picture.
Well, that's what the ski school would get together whenever the ski instructor would ring the bell. People would come from wherever they were and line up there, and they'd get made into small groups or classes.
And you were telling me that you don't know what happened to this bell, or it got stolen, or?
Well, yeah, we put it up a couple of years later on a much more substantial and visible stand made out of old barn timbers, as I recall. I built it, and it had the sign and the bell and a big cast iron syrup kettle on one side of it. There may be pictures of that. I think I have some, but the bell eventually went down to the bottom of the T-bar that we built, and it sat there for a couple of years, and then it disappeared.
No, you're talking about the T-bar that was over closer to the fifth line?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. And then
off to the right of that picture.
Yep. And then we were looking at the beginner's hill in the background here, looking at the rope tow. Now, the thing I always with rope tows, and I can't remember if I experienced this at Valley Schuss or not, but at some point, was it hard for people to hold on to the rope, without it sliding through their hands? Like, in other words, did you have to have a pretty good grip in order to hold on to the rope in order for it to pull you up the hill? Was there problems where people just didn't have the strength?
Well, you couldn't ride it if you didn't have the strength to hang on, but there was a whole set of techniques and protocols involved in doing it. One, depending on how fast the rope went, and some ropes went a lot faster than others, you had to hang on in a certain way, one hand in front of you and one behind you. Your ski pole's hanging on one of your wrists, and you had to slowly grab the rope while it moved, and until it stopped, and then you were moving when it stopped. And it was really hard on your gloves. You could wear out a pair of gloves in a day if you didn't do it right. But once you're on, you got to keep going, or you got to get out of the way, because it's going to run across your body and hurt you.
Yeah, I would imagine it kept your hands warm though, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but it was a bit of a challenge, and eventually we made it into a cable tow, which was steel cable with handles on it. It's much easier to ride.
Okay, well that's what I was thinking earlier. So I remember that. So it actually had the handles on it. That's
yeah.
Okay. Because that would make it a lot easier. So
well, you could even put that handle behind your back and use it kind of as a bit of a seat.
Okay. All right. So that's where I saw it, was up here then, with the handles. Now, do you remember like how long you had the rope tow before you converted over to the handles?
A number of years, but I couldn't say how many.
Okay. Was that something that you guys saw from another resort, or was that something that you guys came up with?
No, it was an evolutionary aspect of the ski lift scene, and somebody somewhere designed these cast aluminum handles that would, grip the cable, bolt on with, a single bolt and nut. And you had to be careful when they got to the top and the bottom because you had to guide them around the various pulleys carefully, or otherwise they could derail the cable or cause, real problems.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. Let me move on to the next photo. All right. Well, there's my father. And like I said earlier, when we were looking at your dad, had that bright red jacket on. So they must have been shopping at the same place. They got the good deal on.
Probably in Vermont.
Yeah. On the red jackets, got the matching red gloves there. So they're all looking sporty there. And if I remember right, it looks like they just took a picture of each other because this is basically the same.
Likely.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that was.
They obviously weren't great photographers because there's not a whole lot of sunlight on your dad's face.
Yeah. Were we thinking this was probably Murray's Run?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah. But that, the background looks the same. So I'm sure they just took.
Yeah. The slope speaks to that.
Yep. All right. Here's another picture of the ski racing going on.
I probably would have been in that race, but I don't remember specific races.
Yeah. Looks like it was a nice winter day. Lots of people participating. This obviously was early because I don't see the, as far as the chalet, there's not that expansion on the other side here.
No, that would have been in the 60s, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of people there, parents of the kids and the timekeepers and the hangers on.
Yep. Yeah, a good crowd. All right, this is one of my parents' friends. That is Mrs. Egler, and I have no idea what year that was, but I would say it was probably in the early '60s. I'm just looking at the ski boots.
Yeah, it would have been in the early 60s because the T-bar that we built is not in that picture, so it was really early 60s.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It was probably the beginning probably the first couple seasons. So. All right.
I think I figured out, Harold, when that T-bar was built, and if it wasn't after the first winter, it would have been after the second, because people couldn't see the skiers or the ski lift or the chalet from the parking lot, so they'd go away thinking there was no ski resort here.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, this is another picture, like you're saying, probably on the east coast of the states there, the ski resort. Potentially.
Yeah. Looks like Vermont or New York.
Yeah, but you did have a interesting point. You were telling me that so this obviously is a T-bar, and then over here, obviously this run is not being used, and you're saying this was an older style, and you're kind of pointing out.
Yeah, that's what's called a spring box type retrieval system. And I was looking through this book, the Lost Ski Resorts of the Northern Adirondacks, just today, and there were pictures of that, and there were different companies, one European, and I think even an American company named Roebling, who were a wire rope manufacturer. They used to make ski lifts, and that spring box thing is one type, and the other on the left was what's called extendable bar. There's another name for that, telescoping bar. That's the type we made later on. My dad got into that business.
Okay. Yeah, but it looks like this must have been like the original one, and then they were.
I think so, and they replaced it with a different one, which would have probably had more towers, maybe higher capacity, like more people, etc.
Yeah, no, because there's one tower there, two towers, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yeah, you're right. This side.
That older style could handle more variations in terrain. But it had its problems. That's that design.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, like I said at the beginning of the episode here, this nice cool hat that I'm wearing here, that is my father. And this is the same hat that I'm wearing now that he was wearing probably 60 years ago. So I'm assuming this is one of the New Year's parties in the early 60s. So that's pretty cool. My family is able to hold on to the hat for this long. And this is his sister here, my Aunt Margaret. that joined him for the New Year's party, and my cousin Richard told me that he was also here for this picture or party back in the early 60s. I have not seen him in any of the photos yet, though, but it's a great photo, I guess. Was your dad a cigar smoker? I see my dad smoking a cigar here.
I don't think Lloyd would have smoked a cigar. I know he occasionally would puff on a cigarette, but only so he could make those little round donuts that people blow.
Okay.
He was an exhibitionist. He wasn't a smoker.
All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, this looks like some more pictures of when we had the ski racing. So we're assuming that this was Murray's Run coming down here.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously
the Wendigo joins it right there. Yeah.
Okay. And looks like Mother Nature was doing a nice job. That's some pretty decent snow.
Yeah.
And we were talking before that this pretty good little drop in train there. You could probably, if you're going fast enough, get a little air coming off the top of this hill here.
Yeah, it was the only nod to steep terrain on the place the first few years. We eventually cut some steeper trails, but it wasn't generally a steep hill. It was more beginner's intermediate type terrain.
Right. All right. Let me see what else we got here. This looks like another picture that is not from Valley Schuss, because this white building.
Yeah, I don't know that terrain.
Yeah, I know at some point when my family moved to the States, they would go over to Pennsylvania to Seven Springs was a ski resort, and then up in central and northern Ohio there were some ski resorts, but this doesn't remind me of anything. So I'm kind of guessing this was maybe, like you were saying before, maybe up in the Northeast somewhere.
It looks like it to me.
Okay.
That too.
Yeah, and I just was just in some of the photos that my folks had, so I have no idea where this could have been in Europe. This could have been out on the West Coast.
We did at Valley Schuss for the first winter or two. Somebody came along with a horse and a sleigh and would take people for rides, but I don't think that was it. The trees don't scream Valley Schuss. They're conifers, and we had very few of those.
Okay, it looks like fun though. I mean, it's like the real deal sled or sleigh right there. So.
Well, that's right. Especially if you were not a skier, you know, you could have fun while the kids skied.
Yeah, yeah. Have your wineskin handy?
Yeah, well, ski resorts were always looking for diversions and things for people to do who weren't skiing or couldn't or whatever. So that was one of them.
Yeah. But did you pick up on my little hint there with their wineskins? Remember how you're telling me with the deck people had their wineskins? I'm
people
sure
who like to drink will drink one way or another.
Yeah, I'm sure they had their. Yeah, I'm sure they had their
wineskin. I think was an import from Europe. I remember when I skied in Europe in '63, '4, there were a lot of people with wineskins. I mean, they were Europeans and more classy than Canadians. I don't remember wineskins being a standard here, although I didn't drink at the time, so I didn't pay much attention.
Yeah. I'd keep them warm and let them enjoy their sleigh ride.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this looks like that same resort that we were looking at earlier. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Not exactly. Still working on trying to figure out where that was at.
Well, actually, Harold, that T-bar design looks very much like Skyway T-bars that Dad used to sell, mostly in Ontario, but that could easily be a Skyway T-bar. The design of the drive terminal suggests that it could be others as well, though.
Okay, so that might have been something where your dad had installed this lift at a particular resort and he's just taking pictures.
That's possible. That's possible. Yeah. Well, he would have sold it. I don't think he or I ever installed any in the U.S. And we did install them, but that was pretty much all in Southern Ontario.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I recognize this red jacket that both of our fathers had.
It looks like your dad.
Yeah, it does. I agree. So maybe he was with your dad wherever they were at there and installing the lift and checking out.
That could even be that trip they took down to Pico or Okemo. I mean, to be fair, the first winter at Valley Schuss had almost no snow, so I think they went off that winter to ski somewhere where they could actually ski. And Dad and I know, went up to Beaver Valley and Blue Mountain a couple times when there was no snow at Valley Schuss, that there was enough up there to ski on.
Okay, yeah.
So here we had a new ski resort and we couldn't ski at it, so we went skiing elsewhere.
Yep. All right.
Thank the weather.
Yep. Looks like probably we looked at a similar picture to this before. We definitely decided it's not at Valley Schuss.
Don't think so, although I don't know. I mean, it could be the rope tow at Valley Schuss. I don't see a building on the right there, so there were a few trees. It could be the rope tow at Valley Schuss.
Do you remember this? Because it looks like this is where people are getting on down here.
That fence, there was a little bit of a fence, probably made of rails around the bottom of the, around the drive terminal. That could easily be it. Maybe we'll dig up some photos that will tell us more, but that could be the one at Valley Schuss.
Okay. Do you recognize over here? I know. Let me see if I can slide our pictures down here. I mean, I see some chairs. Because to me, if you're
I don't see them.
Oh, up here in this upper right hand corner.
I don't see. Well, your face is interfering with it on my screen.
Okay, I just dragged our pictures or down, so maybe in a minute you'll see it. But yeah, in my mind, if you're going up the hill, so you would be in the background should be like the main lift should be back towards the top of the.
Well, but farther away, that little shrubbery there would be the one that's farthest to the closest to the chalet. I mean,
yeah.
Again, I couldn't tell you for sure, but it could be the rope tow on the chalet side. Like the bottom of the hill is a little bit of a valley. We had a road that went through that to get to the chalet, but I don't know. I'd need more information to be sure whether it was Valley Schuss, but it could be.
Okay. All right. This is a nice picture of the inside of the chalet. And I think on a previous episode, we were talking about when you got sent out on a shopping trip to look for light fixtures and you came across these neat light fixtures, which are really cool.
Yeah, I think various people turned those up, but I know some of them came from near Brantford where, they go to antique stores and buy them there.
Yeah.
They being your dad and my dad. But, I may have turned one up. I don't remember for sure.
Yeah. But I'm assuming this is probably in the early to mid 60s as well when this photo was taken.
Very early, because we had a little ski shop there, but it didn't make any money and it was taking up space. So it didn't last very many years.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many.
And then eventually
the far left is. Sorry, the window at the far left, that's the kitchen or where you would got food.
Right. And then
that's the menu on the wall. Like,
oh, is it? And then your loft was up here above
not much
the kitchen.
Of a menu there. Yeah, that's my room up the garret above the kitchen.
Okay. Okay, and it's probably like you said, it's probably the menu for the day. So, do you remember was the food
pretty
good?
limited menu?
Do you remember that?
I remember making lots.
Was the food good?
Oh, it wasn't really a restaurant. I mean, basically it was coffee and hot dogs. I flipped a lot of hamburgers and poured a lot of coffee with French fries. Occasionally when there were parties on, we would make more substantial things, but I think I remember serving people bacon and egg breakfast if they came early on Sunday morning, but it was pretty rudimentary fare otherwise.
How about donuts?
Well, yeah, we had a donut making machine. I ate lots of donuts. I used to make them and eat half of them.
What was your specialty? Did you have a special, or were they all the same?
Oh, yeah, it was kind of a mix, and the machine had this crank, and you could plop them down into the vat. Yeah, it was quite a hoot because they tasted good, and you could sometimes sugar them in some sort of a coating.
Yeah.
So skiers like donuts. Coffee and donut was fair. All day long, probably.
Yeah. So was it like 2 for you and 1 for the customers?
I don't know. I was young and skinny. I needed all the calories I could get.
Yeah, you could eat as many donuts as you wanted. All right, let's move on to the next picture. I know before on a previous episode we were talking about the fireplace, and this was the picture that I mentioned to you before because you're talking about how big the width of the fireplace was. So you can see you're talking about 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah, I think you could get a 4-foot long log just barely in the fireplace. We must have, I mean, we put those there to put in the fire. So, I mean, it was a huge fireplace.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember the fireplace. You know, the other things I remember, you know, staying with your, this would have been when your folks had the apartment on the one side of the chalet. But, you know, I remember like when the day was over, you know, and most of the people were gone, and I'm assuming it was just a few of the employees or workers, but sitting around the fireplace there, and everybody was enjoying a beer or whatever, and just getting warmed up after a long day of working. So that was always a memorable
Yeah.
memory.
That picture shows a couple of things that I had mentioned earlier, I think, but the garage on the far left was the original garage, right close to the chalet, just a couple of feet between them. It was intended to be the place where we parked the Bombardier during, you know, at nighttime, but it very quickly became the ski patrol building because of the fact that previously we had to bring people on toboggans into the chalet, people who had hurt themselves, and it was really bad public relations. So we quickly just converted that into a ski patrol place, and there was room in there for the ski patrollers to have their coffee and donuts too. But the other thing is just between the garage and that pile of wood, there's a thing on the ground there, a pipe.
This right
That
here.
pipe, that was quite meaningful. We had to, the first year, we decided we'd take advantage of gravity and try and get our water supply for the chalet from up Murray's Run, right about where that one picture was taken, where the Wendigo and Murray's Run join. There was a crib, like a huge wooden container in the ground near a spring, and water would go all the way down the hill, but we didn't bury the pipe deep enough. So the first winter, no snow, fairly cold, the pipes froze not too far from the chalet. And we tried digging it up. It was just not going to work. So we hurriedly got a backhoe and dug a great big hole right there, put this 1,000-gallon tank, I think, or some big tank underground. And we'd haul water in another tank, you know, that was being pulled behind the Bombardier from a nearby stream. It was about a mile away. I can remember doing this, filling the tank, driving back, gravity feeding it into that tank in the ground. And every now and then early on, before we figured out how to take care of this, the tank would be full of water and air. And because there wasn't an outlet for the air, it would kind of shoot up in a geyser up this pipe and cover everything with water or ice. It was quite hilarious.
I can imagine, especially if you're, I'm sure it wasn't too hilarious if you happen to be standing
Well,
next to
my
it and got
father
all
was
wet.
an engineer. I could fault him for not seeing that ahead, but whatever.
Yeah.
Some air could get out, but every now and then it would build up inside and it would just go poop like a whale.
Yeah. I have no idea who this is.
I don't know either.
So, all right, let me see what else we got here. Oh, I recognize this picture. So there's my mother, and then the chalet. Does it look like the addition? This is an addition off to the right here.
Yeah, right now I can't see it for our little window in the corner.
Okay, let me.
But yeah, I think we had agreed the other day that there was an addition there, but it was only what 3 or 4 years after we started that, you know, they built that apartment.
Oh, okay. So like say 64, 65 time.
Probably somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess for me, my recollection of coming up, that this was always here, the wing that the apartment that your folks stayed in.
Right. It would have been, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is me, and like I said, this is my mother, but
Well, let's call it you.
okay. So this would have been in the mid 60s then.
Famous you.
Yeah. All right. What else we got here? We decided we don't know who this is. Or,
he looks European, but I don't remember that person.
okay. Do you remember you were saying earlier that Hans brought or had other folks from Austria that came over? Maybe.
Yeah, Hans was from Kitzbühel, and several of his buddies were from a little town near there called Jochberg, and maybe Kitzbühel. They were all from the Kitzbühel area.
Yeah, because I think this may be where my folks lived in Brantford.
Looks like that house to me. I do remember it.
Okay, so either it was somebody that my dad knew, or yeah, or we're not exactly sure who that is. All right. This is definitely my dad. And I guess since I don't know who this is, I'll just say this is me. Do you
That's
think?
just, he's starting at the chalet. You can't see the chalet, but he's just going down to the rope toe.
Oh, okay. Is that what that is?
I recognize the trees in the background of that hillside.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess he was probably trying not to scare me. So
Yeah,
hold on.
yeah.
All right.
Well, they did start kids pretty young.
All right. I know in a previous episode you were telling me about the parties, and did they call this a slap dance? Is that what you told me before?
I guess, yeah. Now, who knows who it is, but these Austrians, they really, had these European, well, let's say Austrian dances that they did. They were quite energetic. And sometimes Hansi would wear his lederhosen, his leather short pants. They loved to show off.
Now, was that a pretty like that dance? Was it just something that they would just kick their legs up, or was it actually?
No, his hand is ready to come down and slap his thigh.
Oh, okay.
So they'd slap their thighs and kick their heels up.
Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
can remember some of them. I mean, they liked themselves and they were having fun, and they would stand right beside one of the tables and jump straight up onto the table, just leap up onto the table without
Okay.
running or anything, just leap up onto the table.
That's
And that was what they did in Kissville. They were entertainers in Kissville, several of these guys.
Yeah. Had nice strong legs, that's for sure.
Yeah, they did have strong legs. They were.
Why would this ladder be here? Do you have
I
any
don't
idea?
know. It might have been some sort of access. Actually, now that I see it, the normal access that I went up, if you go to the door in the back of the kitchen, right to the right of it, there was a ladder made of wooden rung. That was my access. So this would be early access. And as a matter of fact, that ladder is made of magnesium, which fell into our hands because of Dad's involvement in the aluminum window and door business. That was a fold-up ladder that I wish I had now. It was a really smart design, but it was lighter than aluminum, believe it or not.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So I don't see
No, that predates that ladder. So that could be even the first winter.
okay. Yeah. And I'm wondering if this
That looks like my ski instructor helmet, but it's not very clear.
okay. And I don't know if this is my mother right over here. And then I'm wondering if this guy over here taking a picture, this kind of looks like my Uncle Matt. I think this is your dad right here, isn't it? Way off to the left, because how tall he is.
It could be, yeah.
Because
Given the people sitting to the side, this is a display. This is a show that somebody was putting on.
yeah. But just from the little bit of the face over here, this to me.
That is Dad.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so.
I was gonna say, and then you
He's
can
very tall.
yeah, I was gonna say that was the other thing is you can see how tall he is compared to everybody else. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like
great place to party.
no, it looks like it. I'm sure that's what it was. Everybody, it's like, hey, we got a new place to party on New Year's now.
Yeah. And ski too.
Do you have any idea who this is in the back?
Well, I think that was probably Helmut, the guy that took me on and taught most of what I knew about skiing.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
He had short hair.
Do you recognize this guy? Like I said, I think this might be my mother here, but I don't know who this guy.
I don't recognize anybody. The short person, I've been stretching my brain, but I don't know who that is.
Okay. Let me see here.
Karen was not around for most of these things. She was going to university at the time in Hamilton and didn't come there very often.
Okay. Well, there's another nice winter day with the racing.
Yeah, that's another one of that finish scene. Yeah, well, the pommel lift is really obvious there.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is probably the same day, just taking.
Yeah.
Before the pictures were taken up here, looking this way, and now we're kind of
Yeah.
looking the other way. So
Yeah, the snow looks good.
So obviously this would have been somewhere between 1960 and 1970 because of the pommel lift.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. But yeah, nice snow.
I stand corrected. That pole at the bottom of the pommel lift would have been overhead wires from that other place. It was not underground.
Oh, right here. This.
Yeah, it was overhead because
Okay.
that was the thing you did at the time.
Yeah, there's another. I see another.
Yeah, there's another one right there.
Yeah. And now I take it from. You know what? I think I do remember the last time I was up there, I literally walked up the lift line here. Did you
Yeah.
have telephone poles literally running along?
No, no, we did not. But the only thing that had to go up to support the ski lift itself was an underground, just barely underground, a small wire that would be 24 volts, I guess, that would go right to the top of the hill to the safety gate. And if the safety gate was open, the ski lift would stop.
Okay.
Later, you had trips on every tower at every idler, but we didn't initially. It was just a safety gate at the top.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason, I'm almost positive that I saw, and who knows where it came from, something to do with power lines or a power pole or something there.
Well,
but,
yeah, that came with snowmaking.
But
We had to
okay,
run a three-phase line all the way up the hill once we started snowmaking,
but
because our snowmaking system relied on electricity, not compressed air.
you ran you ran the power above ground on poles?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right. Well, that's okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I saw
From
then.
that line, it was underground to each of the hydrants, but the main line went right to the top of the hill.
Okay. Yep. Then yep, I saw remnants of those poles as I was walking up the lift line there. There again, this is somewhere else. I can just tell by looking in the background.
Yeah.
I think this is my sister Ellen, and it's obviously probably my dad, but who knows where they're
Yeah.
at. I wonder if Dad took one of my siblings along on that trip, with your dad to that resort or whatever that we saw with the different lift.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah, like you were saying, when they didn't have enough snow to ski there in Orangeville. I think this is me. I'm going to claim it as me. That's my mother in the background. I can see a little bit of grass sticking up. So it looks like you just had enough snow to.
We had the fastest grass in Ontario.
I like that. That'd be good for a T-shirt. The fastest grass in
It
Ontario.
would, yeah. We
right.
didn't really want everyone to know that, however. We would rather have advertised the fastest snow and the fastest light powder. How's that?
Yeah, yeah.
We always stretched the amount of snow. All ski resorts did. If you had a half an inch of snow, you'd call it 1 or 2.
Sure. Would always round up. All right. I got this from the SMI website, and this was, I think, in their snow. I forget what the name of their magazine is, but I definitely, when I was going through there, this was like one of their, I don't know, 30 or 35 year anniversary editions. And
yeah.
I was looking through that. It's like, oh, I know this guy right here. And so that's your father right there. But we don't know who these two guys are, right?
No, that probably was at Alpine, and that could have been 2 of the principal people at Alpine up in Collingwood.
But that's the Snow Stream.
I spent many hours running those things.
Do you think your dad sold this piece of equipment to them and he was up there?
I have no doubt about it.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he was the agent for Eastern Canada.
Gotcha. Yeah, because originally I was wondering if this was like the owner of SMI and his son, but it makes sense.
I don't see Jim Vanderkellen in that space.
Yeah, and somebody from SMI confirmed that they didn't know who these folks were. So, but yeah, that's probably what it was. Your dad was showing them the.
Well, it looks to me as though it was kind of a publicity shot for SMI.
Okay.
I used to put together those carriages and the guns. At one point, I put many of them together in the bottom of what was Aspen Ski Resort. I lived there at the time. It was defunct, but I remember assembling about 10 or 15 of those one summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it was a bunch that your dad had in inventory that he was going to take to different resorts?
They were probably already sold.
Gotcha.
I had to put them together. It was quite a challenge, actually.
Okay. Oh, right. So, all right. This is an exciting picture for me. So this is what I was telling you before. So I'm walking the Bruce Trail, and I'm kind of going back a couple of episodes, but where the Bruce Trail enters the ski resort on the 5th line, in my mind, the trail went straight across the property, but Maria was nice enough to kind of orient me, and the Bruce Trail actually came more up hill.
Well, it
And
went diagonally across the
diagonal.
field.
Yep, that's a good way to put it. So I was telling Murray, I was so excited when I told him about this picture. So I literally was walking to Bruce Trail, and I was trying to, associate different things with the ski resort from, my time up there as a kid. And I'm standing on the trail, and you can see this is kind of an opening because a lot of the trail is in pretty good forest. It's, there's not a lot of openings like this. And so I come walking along the trail, and I kind of pause here because it's an opening. And then this is what catches my eye right here. And I'm like, that definitely does not belong
An ancient
here.
ruin.
An ancient ruin. Yeah. So I walked over here, and after talking to you, so this was the T-bar. Like, did you call that the third T-bar, or what was the?
Well, that's what I call it. It was
Okay.
put in late.
Yep. So this
That
was
was its second life. It was at Twin Hearts originally, but it moved to Valley Schuss.
okay. So this is what caught my attention. And then when I walked up here and I started walking back down the hill, on our previous episode, I told you that I was, so impressed. You could see where somebody excavated this ramp as you're coming up the hill. And then as I kept walking down the hill, that's where I noticed where the bridge used to be that you and I talked about. That was it Murray's Run that went underneath the?
Oh, it was the Caribou that ran under that lip.
Okay. But, if you're, paying attention, like I was and had some memories of the ski resort, it was like there's all these little clues. I could definitely tell the lift line. I could see, the concrete where the lift towers were. I could see where the trail went through, and obviously there was a bridge there.
This is called modern day archaeology. You're an archaeologist.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what, it was super fascinating for me because I was walking around there, and it was just like I had all these little clues and putting it together. And like I told you in our previous episode, I really didn't spend a whole lot of time on this part of the resort just because I was so little. And obviously this part of the resort had more steeper terrain. But so you're talking what, 40, I'm just trying to think 50 years, but there's still, if you know what you're looking for, you can still pick up signs of, where the trails were. And it was just super fascinating being over here. And the other thing I also discovered was where that other toe went to the top of the race hill or whatever you called it.
Yeah.
Because you and I were talking about that as well. So yeah, I had a lot of fun looking in this area once I started walking down the lift line and started walking around down there. So it was really, really interesting.
One of the features because of our property being not spectacularly steep or difficult terrain, everybody who was a good skier was always saying, well, where are the steep trails, or let's make some steep trails, or let's access that particular part of the property. And that was fine to say, but there wasn't always a lot of money in catering to the hotshot racers who wanted a steep trail. The bread and butter was the beginners and the intermediates. So we ended up, making more and more short, steep trails. To be fair, the place was not Blue Mountain, that's for sure. It was different.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was so interesting that I had no idea. I'm just walking the trail, and I just happened to pause here, and I'm looking around because, like I said, it's so heavily forested, the trail.
Yeah.
And then you kind of come out into this clearing. So I just kind of stopped and paused, and I was looking around, and it's like, oh man, look at that. And you can see, it's pretty well buried. There's dead trees on it. All the grass has grown up.
Well, we really should walk this sometime, Harold, because I'll probably won't stop talking, but I'll know where all those things are.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. So, Marie, I think this is a good place to stop for this evening. We're coming up on our 1 hour mark. So it was a pleasure going over these photos with you. I still have a few more, so when we get together on our next episode, we'll continue on and finish up talking about these photos.
Okay. Well, I will also try and find a way to digitize the ones I have.
Okay, sounds good, Murray. I will talk to you on the next episode.
Okay, doke.
Okay, bye-bye.